Hi, gang. I wanted to create this announcement verbally just because there's a lot going on this week. It's our last week of the course, and I want to make sure everybody understands kind of the quirkiness of this week. And it's easier for me to explain that verbally than I started to write out a really long announcement, and it just got too long and wordy. So first, before I do that, I want to apologize for any radio silence you may have experienced this week. I came down with the worst case of strep throat and was just completely out of commission and didn't, basically was not even, getting out of bed. So again, so some of that grading I need to catch up on today before all your assignments that you're submitting today hit the grade book. So let's go ahead and talk about this week because there are some really important things that I need you to pay attention to. So let's go through the first thing is that all your assignments for this week are due Friday. So even though everything has been due on Sundays up until this week, they are due Friday this week. That is because my grades are due shortly after that. And if I have you turn them in Sunday, I have 12 hours to get it all graded and your final grades and everything. So it's much easier if you can turn everything in by Friday, and then I can get that all turned around into your final grades. I will not accept any late assignments, so please make sure everything gets into me by Friday. This includes, I'm pulling up week 6. So this includes chapter 3 and the reading guide, and chapter 14 and the reading guide. The other thing that you all have due this week is your interview. So hopefully you have completed that and you've done your write-up, and you can go ahead and submit that by Friday. And then finally you have your philosophy of teaching diverse learners due by Friday. So that's 4 assignments that you need to get in. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the discussions and the research presentations. So if you were taking this class as for graduate credit as a 510 or possibly a TCP student, I know we have some continuing ed, to be able to get that graduate credit, you have to complete an extra assignment, which you did. You wrote your paper, which was due this week, and now you're going to post your research presentation. So this affects not only 510 students but also 220 students because your research presentation needs to be posted by Monday at midnight, which means 220 students, if you want to participate in the discussion, you can't do it until we have some of those research presentations posted, which I actually think there might be some up there now. But the absolute deadline is midnight by Monday. Remember, 220 students, you do not need to make an initial post this week. You get a freebie extra, you get your freebie point for that. All your requirements are this week is to comment on those research presentations and follow those comment guidelines you've been meeting all session with timing and amounts. Okay, so hopefully that's clear about the discussion. TCP students, please check your presentations to make sure they work, that audio works and video works, whatever you've got. Certainly if somebody comes across one of those presentations and there's a glitch or a problem, please let that student know. And then, okay, so finally the last thing, and this is where it gets really kind of crazy, and this is only for 510 students. If you are a 510 student, you had to do obviously these 2 extra assignments. However, the grade book, the way Blackboard works is your grade book is for students in 220 and 510. So 510 students have extra assignments in the grade book, which means those points need to come from somewhere. So if you go back into the syllabus, which I'm going to pull up and show you guys. I'm trying to think where that is. Right here. So if you look at these reading guide grades, it says there's 11 guides. Each reading guide is worth 2 points for students enrolled in 220 and 1 point for students enrolled in 510. However, up until this point, everybody has gotten 2 points for the reading guides, and that's for 2 reasons. One, I can never remember who's in 220 and who's in 510, so that just makes it easier for me to give everybody their 2 points if they do it. And two, if I give 1 point and, and Blackboard is saying that the guide is worth 2 points, it really makes 5, 10 students panic, have a moment of panic. So up until now, everybody is getting 2 points. The way that I'm going to then get these 11 points is once all your research materials are submitted, your paper and your presentation, I will go through, grade those. Let's say you do fabulous on those and you get 11 points for that paper and presentation. What I do then is I post 11 points onto the gradebook for your paper and your presentation, and then I go into each reading guide and then I now regrade them as 1 point. Okay, so you're going to see some points go up and some points go down. Do not panic. Remember, this is only for 5, 10 students, okay? Even if you still only, let's say you do the paper and the presentation and you get 8 points, your reading guides are still going to go down 1 point, so you'll have a deficit of 3 points, okay? Because you only got 8 out of 11. So hopefully that makes sense. What would happen is if, let's say, I entered those 11 points and I didn't turn those reading guides down 1 point, your points would be 111 out of 100. So basically all this does is it makes it 100 points is the max you can earn. So the last thing that I want to say is for 220 and 510 students is please go through your grades at this point. If you have any issues, concerns, questions, now is the time to reach out to me to do that, okay? Remember that your grade book is out of 100 points. Don't worry about percentages. Don't worry about, if you're not, basically don't worry about percentages. If Blackboard somehow is calculating your percentage for you, that is not what you want. What you need to look at are your total points. So sometimes the easiest way to do this is to look at how many points you've lost over this session and subtract that from 100, and that's the highest grade you can get basically if everything hasn't been graded yet. So again, it's out of 100 points. So if you have any questions at all, please email me. Obviously I'll be I will hopefully be on email all week and responding. So I know I'm going to be on the road a little bit on Thursday. So if you email me Thursday, you won't get an immediate reply, but I'm hoping that I'll reply at least Thursday night or Friday morning. Particularly if it's like, my grades, this is an emergency. So that's all I have to say, and I hope you guys have a great last week of the course. Families is my favorite topic. And I hate that it comes at the end because everybody's always so tired. But I do encourage you to watch this video of a mom sharing her birth story of her daughter. I love it. It's kind of like filmed in a TED Talk type format, and it's very powerful. And it just sort of gives you some insight into what it might be like to have a child who's born with a disability. And in this case, this mom has a daughter with Down syndrome. So again, if you guys have any questions, email me, but have a great week. Bye.